Hello, Stallions! This week we are starting off Black History Month, and each week we're going to learn about a different artist that shaped and formed and changed the art world and happened to be African American or Black, depending on which term you like to use. But the artist we're learning about this week is William H. Johnson. And he was an artist from South Carolina, and he would draw and paint pictures of people that he saw in South Carolina, saw growing up and working and doing different jobs. And he would basically tell the story of those people and what their lives were like by the paintings that he drew. He didn't use any words or anything. He just told the story with the pictures. Okay. For example, you can tell that this man and this woman lived on a, hopefully you said farm or out in the country or ranch or something, but although in South Carolina they don't really have ranches. You can tell that it was it a long time ago or was it like right now? Yes, hopefully you said a long time ago, because you can see the style of her dress is a bit different. The wagon wheel, that should be a huge clue to you. The style of his hat, men don't really wear a hat like that much anymore. So he would tell the story with the people. He would do the people of South Carolina, and he would also do the people in Harlem in New York, because when he became an adult, he actually lived there for quite some time in Harlem. So his art is very fascinating because just looking at him and scrolling through the pictures, he tells quite a story of the people that he lived among and knew, and his family members and his friends and different people in his life. So he's a really interesting man. If you skipped my video about just him, be sure you go back and watch that, because he is, I really enjoyed learning about him. He's a very, very interesting person, and you definitely miss out if you don't watch that, because then you just appreciate his art so much more when you learn more about what he was thinking and where it came from. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to draw a picture of either a man or a woman, or a boy or a girl. We're going to do it in the style of William H. Johnson, and you have a choice. You can make it like a self-portrait of yourself, pretending you're kind of back in that time, or you could do what I did and draw pictures of more like the people that he drew pictures of. Kind of imagine myself living in that time when he did and where he was and the kind of people that he would draw. So that is going to be your choice. You'll need paper, pencil, Sharpie, something to color with. I did two only because I wanted you to have an example of a boy or a man, and I wanted you to have an example of a girl or a woman. You only have to do one picture, so don't panic seeing me hold two. You don't have to make two, unless of course you just want to. Okay, so get your stuff together and let's start creating. All right, so first we need to fold our paper in half. So fold it in half. You're turning it into a card or a book. Good crease down the middle, and then keeping it folded, fold it in half one more time, and again make a good crease. Okay, and sorry, I had greaser shavings there. Open it up and flatten it out. All right, now if you're one of my current students, you already know why we do this. We do it so we can see the middle from top to bottom and side to side. That helps you know where to put everything on your paper, and it also helps you get it the correct size. So that's why we do this a lot. Second, you want your paper going up and down when it's tall and skinny. And then with our pencil, we're going to begin drawing. Now, I'm going to actually be making two different versions of this. I'm going to make a version of a girl or a woman and another version of a boy or a man. So that way, regardless of which one you're doing, it will give you an example to look at. Okay, so now I have both of my pieces of paper. I'm going to just stack them one on top of the other. Obviously, you only need to make one picture. I figured the girls would want a girl or a female to look at, and I figured the boys would want the same for them with a man. All right, so we are on the top half of our paper, and we're going to begin with our head. Our head is going to be in this area right here, and it's going to be about the size of what you see me making, like an oval here. Okay, so taking my pencil really light, I am making a fairly large oval. This is a person's head, so I'm keeping that in mind. You know, a person's head is actually a little more narrow at the bottom than it is the top. Okay, and notice how I did it pretty sketchy. Okay, all right, now I'm not gonna, you don't need to go over and make it darker. I just want to make sure everyone watching can see. All right, so there is the head of my person. Now let me do the same on my other one. Same thing, right about here. I'm going, actually that's a little too high. I'm gonna go down just a bit. Just looking at the other one real quick. And so again, an oval. And kind of shape it a little bit. And the oval is, on both of mine, excuse me, it's a little long. This one needs to be a little wider. It's a little too narrow. But William H. Johnson made his people very elongated, meaning they looked almost like someone had taken something and kind of stretched them out and made them a little longer and skinnier. So if yours has that look, that's actually a good thing, because that is how he did it. And we are taking our inspiration from him. Okay, so now that I have a head on both of mine, they need a neck. So coming right out of the head, I'm going to do 2 lines. 1, 2. All right. Go to my other one. Same thing. 1, 2. All right, so now my people have necks. All right. Next, we are going to do their face. All right. Okay, so for his noses on his people, actually, I'm going to start with the eyes. The eyes would be right about here, at least for him, the way he did it. I'm just putting a line where the eyes are going to go. You don't put this line. This is just to kind of give you guys a visual, something to look at. And so I'm going to draw 2 eyes. They're going to be kind of that football lemon shape. And William H. Johnson didn't worry about trying to make it perfectly realistic, meaning trying to make it look real. Instead, it was more about the feelings he wanted you to get from looking at his art, and understanding who these people were and what their lives were like. It's called folk art. Okay, so we got the 2 eyes. Then we're going to do just some simplified eyebrows, just a line. Again, I'm doing it on both. Right now they're so similar, you have no idea which one's the girl and which one's the boy. And for the noses, he did the noses extremely simplified. He just did a little line here and here. Super, super simple. Okay, once again, for the nose. And notice there's a pretty decent amount of space between the eyes and the nose. But again, he just did line, line. Also notice at this point, I haven't put the pupil in the eye and all that. I'm not getting into all those details right now. Okay. Then you have your mouth. So he drew, you know, pretty much your standard mouth. He did draw the lips. He didn't just draw smiles. Basically, he had the lips and a line in the middle. And again, he did things nice and simple. With the lips with a line in the middle. Okay. All right. Looking good, actually. All right, next, the ears. So notice the ears are about the height of the nose, and he just did simple curved lines. Here, here. Okay. Same thing for the other one. Down the height of the nose, ear, ear. Super, super simple. Okay? All right, now it's finally going to kind of go off in a different direction. For the girls or the ladies, whichever way, whether you're pretending you're a grown-up in your picture or whether it's you right now, we're going to do the hair. Now, women back then would have had their hair pulled back, like, you know, in a bun or a ponytail like that, because they're working and they're busy, and you don't want your hair getting in the way and, of course, getting really dirty. So I'm going to, this is kind of like where the part is for the hair, and I'm drawing from here down to the ear. Same thing here. It's almost like a heart. You really use your imagination and look. All right, and so when we color that and outline it, it'll really help it look, you know, even more like what we're trying to make it look like. I know it's hard when I've got it so sketchy. So notice it starts in the middle, it comes up and down to the ear, middle and up and down to the ear. Okay, and if you wanted to be able to see the hair, you could pretend like, you know, it's kind of coming down the back if you want, or you could leave it the way it is. He left it like that, like you have it in a bun. And most likely that's the way most women would have had their hair styled. Now for the guys, men would have been wearing a hat because you want to protect yourself from the sun. So for the hat, it's kind of like when we did our snowman, if you did the snowman, only Kinder and First did that. But right here on his head, I'm going to make a curved line. That's going to be the brim of the hat. And then the side of the brim is going to come up just a little bit. Right now it looks like I'm making a football on his head. And then it's going to come up just a little. Don't make it too much. It's not Abraham Lincoln with a top hat or anything. And then you have just the little kind of part at the top, kind of like a cowboy hat almost. Now, obviously, you wouldn't be able to see through the hat, so you want to erase the part. And again, it looks very simple. It looks like it's just kind of plopped on his head, almost like a sticker. But again, that's the way he did it. And then for the men, we also want, or the boys, men or boys, either one, bring it down like this, because the kind of work shirt he had on would have been like a V-neck. For the girls or the women, your neckline would be curved because you're wearing like a blouse or dress. Okay? Alright, so you're doing really good so far. Stick with it. Next, we're going to do their shirts. Now, their shirts, you're going to have, it's coming out like these are their shoulders, and it curves down. And again, I'm just kind of doing it sketchy. So that would be her shoulders. And then the sleeves would come in. She's wearing short sleeves. And then the rest of her shirt or dress, I think she's wearing a dress actually, would be here. Okay, and her shoulders wouldn't be that broad, so I'm cleaning that up a little bit. So it's, right now it looks like a t-shirt. Okay, but it'll come together as more of a dress, which you'll see in a minute. She's looking pretty right now. I like it. All right, now for the guy, like I said before, he's wearing more of a V-neck. Of course, he still has shoulders, so it's going to come down here and here. And again, if your person looks kind of long and skinny, that's fine, because that's how he did it too. And then you have the sleeve. Now this one, let's make his arm like it's kind of coming up a little bit, like he has his hands on his hips. And then I'd have a line here, and then it comes in. And then this one, it's down. And then I got a line here and here, all right? And that space is there on purpose, okay? Now for him, we're gonna close it off because it's a shirt. And then, of course, he wants an arm. So bring a line down for the arm. You'd have the elbow right about there. And then the hand is very simple. So So I'm going to kind of almost make a lump, okay? See how I did that? And then I'm going to come back in and make the fingers, okay? And again, he didn't stress about making it perfect and realistic, so you should not either. And then you have his arm coming out over here, because here this one's bent. So then you need kind of a point for the elbow. Okay, and then it comes down to where his hip is. Okay, and again, the arm looks kind of long, but I'm not going to worry about that because again, it's not about being realistic. It's more about showing who these people are. And they were very important to William H. Johnson. You know, he took the time to paint them and show them because he's telling you a story. All right, now you need the line for his pants and a belt. Okay, if you want to put a little belt buckle in the middle, you can, but you don't have to. And then you have the line kind of coming down the middle here, the other side for his pants. And now we pretty much have his body drawn. It looks good. All right, and again, he's not perfect, but we're not trying to be perfect. Okay, now back to the lady. For her, got the arms coming down, and let's bring this down because this would go all the way down, but it'd get a little wider as it goes down because it is a dress. Okay, and then her arms come out like this. She has her elbows here, and then it comes in like this because she has her hands like clutched together. So here's the rest of her arm. Okay, now you wouldn't be able to see through her arm, so I'm erasing that line there. All right, and then she has her hands together, so they're kind of overlapping, which makes it where you definitely don't have to make it as realistic because you can't see all of it. And you saw the examples that I showed you. See, I'm just real loosely doing fingers. And she has a little bit of a belt on her dress. And there she is. All right, so now we have our man and our woman. Okay, now for the eyes, let's go back to the eyes because we need to fix that. You would have the pupil in the middle. That's the dark part. And again, he made these very simple. Then the black part in the middle. And that would be the part that's colored around the pupil. So that's where, you know, if you have brown eyes or hazel eyes, blue eyes, that's where that color would be. And so you'll see that when we get to that point. And the people themselves are basically thin. Oh, I forgot one thing for the guy. He needs a little bit of a line here and 3 buttons. 1, 2, 3. Okay? All right, so now both of our pictures need a horizon line. And for both of them, we're going to put it right at the shoulders. And remember, the horizon line is where the sky and the ground touch. And he didn't do perfectly straight horizon lines. He made them just a little wiggly. Notice I didn't draw on top of her. Okay, so again, everything from this line up is the sky. Everything from this line down is the ground. Same thing for the guy. Right around like the shoulder neck area. Somewhat wavy. Not perfectly straight. All right, so again, everything from the line up is the sky. Everything from the line down is the ground. Okay, now you need to decide what you want to have in the background. You have a couple of different options. Option 1 is to draw a fence. Now the background details that he drew, he would draw just sitting right on top of the horizon line. Okay, so for a fence, it would be like a wooden fence. So that's like, you know, like a piece of wood. And then you'd have the, you know, pieces of wood going the opposite direction. All right, and then maybe another one here. So you're only seeing a portion of the fence. Okay, and then you need to decide, what's in the front, because the fence isn't made out of glass. All right, so you can see super simple fence. Okay, another option, and it doesn't matter whether you're doing the man or the woman. You can choose the fence or a wagon wheel. Because back then there were no cars. It would have been wagons. So I'm making a circle, a little circle in the middle, and the little spokes of the wheel. Believe it or not, people used to get around with wagons pulled by horses. There were no cars. All right, so there you have the wagon wheel. Okay. On the other side, he would put the building. So, for example, you're just basically drawing a super simple house. Just the house, the roof, and like one window or door. Because again, super simple. Again, the house, the roof, and just like one window or door. Super, super simple. Okay. Now our next step would be Sharpie. All right, so the Sharpie is especially nice on this project because we did it so sketchy. This gives us a good chance to clean it up and have some more definite lines. So you're only Sharpieing over the parts you want to keep. You're not Sharpieing over all those little sketchy lines you made. So I got her eyebrows, I have her eyes, and so on. So whether it's a man or a woman or boy or girl, that does not change what you're doing. You're Sharpieing over every single line. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward to do that. You can hit pause and Sharpie yours. As always, if you don't have a Sharpie, you can use anything else that is black. Pen, marker, pencil. And if you don't have that, just make sure your lines are bold enough with your pencil that when you start coloring, you won't lose your picture. Okay, so again, you hit pause, finish your Sharpie. I'm going to fast forward starting now. Okay, so now they're both Sharpied, and I also erased any pencil you could still see. And I love these. I love the style that he did this in. It's so freeing to not have to try to be perfect, to try to just, go more for who the person was and the feeling. I absolutely love this. The other thing I love about his art is he actually did the black outlines like we do. So I think that is really super cool. And he used bright, vivid, beautiful colors, bright yellows, bright blues, bright greens. Just very, very beautiful and colorful. So when you're choosing your colors, you want them to be very bright and colorful, and you want to cover all the white. The examples that I was looking at for this lesson, there is literally zero white, no white. So you want to get rid of the white. That is your job. So starting with the skin, now first of all, I chose to not make mine a self-portrait. I chose to draw a man and a woman, very much like he did, that would have been in that date and time. Basically the kind of art he would have made. If you chose to do a self-portrait, you can choose the skin color you would like. Well, I guess either way you could choose the skin color that you like. I am using burnt sienna because I wanted her to look the way she would have looked. And so I'm coloring it with that. And then I also have just brown. And I have that for her eyes because I wanted the brown on her eyes and her skin to be just a little different. And I'm also going to do her eyebrows too. right? And so I'm going to color her skin. I'm going to color his as well. So again, I'm going to leave it up to you on the color that you choose, whether you want to do it like he did, like the people of South Carolina, or you want to do it like you, like it's a self-portrait, or yeah, let's stick with those two. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward to color both of their skin, and you can hit pause to color yours, and then we'll continue. Okay, I have their skin and their eyes done. Now I'm doing the hair, and I'm using a black crayon. Again, you know, depending on who the person is, whether it's you or whether you're doing like William H. Johnson did and doing a person from South Carolina, you know, do it to make sense. I'm giving the guy just a little bit of hair. Not much, it's just kind of pick it out behind the, or underneath the hat. All right, and then just give our eyebrows a little something. All right, and then you have the lips. Now, William H. Johnson used a darker brown for the lips. So I guess I'll do that with his. But I want to give her, no, they probably wouldn't have been wearing lipstick back then. But I just want to give her a little something. I feel like she deserves it. Okay, now for the things that would be made out of wood, for example, the wagon wheel would have been made out of wood. He would just color it brown. But for everything else, he uses very bright, vibrant, bold colors. Greens and blues and yellows and oranges and red. Just really bright, bold, sunny, and fun. Okay? His stuff is extremely colorful. And that's one of the things I love about it. And I think that's one of the things other people love about it as well. So I got that brown. And now for everything else, I'm going to use purples, blues, greens, yellows and reds, orange. We're going to go super bright and colorful. So first, the grass. I'm going to go with a lighter green because there's a lot of grass. And I don't want it to look too dark. Because since the horizon line is so high on both pictures, that would be a whole lot of green. And if I use a dark green, it's just a lot of darkness. And again, his stuff is very bold, bright, and colorful. As always, when you color, your job is to cover the light, make it look nice, and think about the direction that you're coloring. And I'm coloring side to side. And since I started with side to side, I'm going to stick with side to side. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward and color the grass on both my pictures. You can hit pause and color your grass, and then we'll move on to the rest of the stuff. Okay, so now I have the grass colored. And one other thing about his colors, not only are they bold, and bright, and vibrant, they're also flat. They're just solid color with no shading or different values within the color. Okay, so we've been talking a lot of, if you're at my school, we've been talking a lot about shading for several weeks now. For this project, there actually won't be any shading. But next we're going to color the sky. Now, sometimes he would just color the sky blue, but sometimes he'd pick a totally different color, like a peach or an orange or a yellow or a lavender, all kinds of stuff. I even see a gray on one. For this one, I'm going to use kind of a lavender. This one's called Wisteria. But, so I'm going to use that. So again, bold, flat, vibrant colors, nice and simple. And again, he made everything simplified on purpose because he was inspired by folk art from Scandinavia. And those are simplified, basic art from just, you know, people that aren't trying to be too complex or complicated or anything. And he's got a lot of inspiration from that because he actually married a woman that was from Denmark. And he lived in Scandinavia for almost 10 years. And then he had to move. He and his wife moved to America because World War II started happening. And I don't know how much you guys know about history, but there were some really bad people during World War II, especially in Europe, and they were trying to take over Scandinavia. So he and his wife came right back to America and moved to New York so that they would be safer. All right, so I'm going to hit pause and finish coloring the sky on both of these pictures. You can hit pause and finish coloring yours, and then we will move on to their clothes and the little houses in the background. Okay, so now we have the sky colored, and next we're going to color the little house. I am going to use a blue and a purple. It's actually indigo and blue violet. I'm going to color the actual house with the indigo, and again, simple, flat, no shading or value. And then on the and I'm going to do the opposite over here. Add a little on the roof. And then I'm going to use my blue violet for the opposite. So like over here, it'll be the window and the roof. Now again, you don't have to use the same colors as me. You can totally change them if you want to. And then we're going to color the clothes. Same thing, you don't have to use the same colors as me. You can change them and use any colors that you want. And that goes basically for the entire picture. All right. Now for his hat, I am going to use a black. I was going to go for brown, but I'm going to use black. A lot of people have black hats. It's very popular. Which is kind of funny because if you think about it, it soaks up the sun and makes you hot. But at least it gives your face some shade. All right, so there's his cute little black hat. I guess he's not trying to be cute, but it looks good. And now the clothes. I'm going to color her dress yellow. And I am going to color his pants blue and his shirt red. I'm going to start with him since he's closer to me. And let me see, I think I have a silver. No, I don't. But I do have a gray I'm going to use for his little buttons. Maybe I'll do that on her belt because that'll kind of tie them together, give them some things that are in common or the same. All right, so while I'm coloring the clothes, and so are you, hopefully, let's talk about folk art more. I told you that he lived in Scandinavia with his wife. They actually met in France, Paris, France. He moved there to be an artist, to be a professional artist, and to be able to live and work with other artists. Because especially back then, artists liked being in groups because they could get ideas from each other and create with each other, and it just helped them be better artists. So he was living in Paris, and another one of the artists that he knew was dating a lady, and her sister is the one that he met. So he, I guess, was hanging out with his friend. His girlfriend brought her sister, and that's when William H. Johnson met his wife. And they got married. Like I said, she was from Scandinavia. So those are your countries that are in kind of northwestern Europe. Things like Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Holland, that area over there. And so that was the area that she was from. And he moved back there with her. And they lived there for almost 10 years. All right, so it took a long time to get to my point. So that's where he learned about folk art. And he saw a lot of folk art there. And that's what inspired him for his style of art. And what folk art is art that's been around for it's a style of art that's been around for a really long time, like generations and generations. And generations are like from, you got your mom and dad, your grandmother and grandfather, your great-grandmother and grandfather, your great-great-grandmother and grandfather, your great-great-great-grandmother and grandfather. And so as you go on and on and on, those are called generations. Like one generation is you. Another generation is your parents. A third generation is your grandparents, okay? So it's basically a group of people in their age. And folk art is art that they use to decorate clothing, bowls, plates, blankets, quilts, and it's just a real simple style of decorating. It's different depending on where in the world you are, and so it could be things like, like a floral pattern or anything like that. If you were at our school last year, the year that the quarantine happened, we learned about Hungary and looked at some of the art, and that was a type of folk art where it had the blue flowers and the leaves and all that. And so that is the kind of art he looked at and got inspired by, and that's why he simplified it and made it more flat and really colorful. And I think that is actually when he started becoming very successful and very famous, because prior to that he was painting and drawing more realistic. So when he actually simplified things, that is when his career took off, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. And that's basically it. There are two awesome pictures. I love them. I think if he was still alive to see it, it would make him super duper happy. So thank you for watching. Thank you for creating. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I really did. This is one of my favorite lessons. I really, really like it. So thank you, and I hope you have a great week. Bye.